Hello! Today I'm going to be talking to you about how I am planning my own escape room in my own home. So you'll notice in front of you, this is my plan for my escape room, and it looks a little bit different than the ones that you might have in your notebook. And I first wanted to just start by saying you can totally use the blank sheet that you have in your notebook, but if you want to do one that looks like mine or even different than mine, that's okay too. And so for mine, I just used a plain blank piece of paper. I started with a supplies needed list, and I added to that as I thought of different clues and planned out my escape room. I also, at the top, added a little section called the What I Need to Make list, and that was helpful to me because it reminded me of what I needed to make and do in order to be able to set up my escape room. So the way that I've gone through and planned out my escape room is I have 4 clues in mind, and yours might be really different. Yours might be way longer than mine, but mine's a little bit shorter, so I'll just kind of talk through some of this. At the bottom, I wrote down my mission because, as we've probably talked about in our escape room in some of the planning that we've done, it's really important that you establish your mission, whether it's finding something or solving one more code, and know what it is that lets your family members escape from their room. So I started by writing out my clues, and the first clue I used this piece of paper, which you have. You could use it for a map, you could use it for like a story, and I used that to write out my clue. And I left a riddle at the bottom here, and that leads them onto the location of where they'll find the second clue. I also gave them some other information in my first clue. I gave them a backstory, which we've talked about a little bit in camp, and I also think I gave them a time limit so they knew how long they would have to escape the room. So I added a few things to mine that weren't on the page that we have in your notebook, and I'm going to talk through why I think they're a little bit important. So one of the things that I've added is the location that the clue leads to. So you can see that in clue 1, my location leads to the toilet paper roll in the bathroom. And I've written that out so I know where I need to put clue number 2 and any items that they need to help crack clue number 2. So I've also listed, outside of the location that they're trying to get to, the objects that I'm going to need to leave in that location. So then when I move on to clue 2, I did another riddle. You can see I have my clue 2 here, and the riddle is on one side and the clue is on the other. That I have written out my code here. In this case, I'm using a box code, which is one of the ciphers that we worked on this week. I've written out the location that it leads to, so if you solve this cipher, it says coffee pot, and you'll know how to do that by the end of the week. And then I've also written out, the objects that I'm going to need to leave somewhere near this coffee pot. So those are some basic tips that I would use to start building my escape room. A few other things I might just add are, if you're using a really hard cipher, like the Jefferson cipher, which we talked about on the last day of camp, or the Caesar cipher, be sure to write down what your code is and write down what the code is when you've decoded it, just in case you forget and your family needs a hint. If you're working with a younger sibling, it might be good to write down a few hints that you could give them in case they're a little bit stuck. Because let's remember that your family and any siblings that you haven't necessarily had the amazing camp knowledge that you've gained this week, so they might need some extra help, which you can provide to them. I'm so happy to hear about all your escape rooms, and they're going to be super awesome, so I can't wait to talk about them more in camp when it happens. Thanks so much. Bye.